Good morning, everybody. Today is the 23rd day in the month of May, 2022. My name is Heritage Adisa, Markets Analyst at HFM Nigeria. Quickly, as usual, check through the markets, find out what the overall sentiment is, if the opportunities, and then how we can take advantage of it. But please remember, this is just a communication material, and nothing in this communication contains or should be considered as investment advice or investment recommendation. Users acknowledge that investment in FX and CFD products is characterized by a certain degree of uncertainty, and that any investment of this nature involves a high level of risk for which users are solely responsible and liable. What we have this morning in terms of the overall environment is a positive start to the day, positive start to the week, more risk-on environment, although I'll call it light, and I'll explain that now in a bit. I had this written down earlier. I said it is the start of a new week, and then risk-sensitive assets are generally in the better spot to start the session. Equities and commodities are higher, and it measures volatility trade lower. Now, on the COVID side, we had, there's been COVID cases, new rise in COVID cases in China over the last couple of weeks now. And then, we had some mixed, COVID situations there from China where record cases in Beijing. We're talking about more lockdowns as well. Lockdowns being extended while in Shanghai, even though one particular region has been put back into lockdowns, but most of the lockdowns have been or restrictions have been lifted. So there is that that's also helping. When you have back and forth, good and bad, news there. But generally, we had smooth elections as well in Australia, smooth handover as well, right? So the new prime minister there, that could be seen as a positive. Apart from that, we also had President Biden also say that or say that he's considering reducing the tariffs from the Trump administration, right, on China. That also is a supportive factor for resentment generally. But apart from those factors, there's not really been any major market driving information. And then you look at the overall, negatives that we've had over the last couple of weeks, talking about rising inflation, sky high inflation, talking about central banks tightening policies, talking about expectations for global economic slowdown. All of that still remains very much evident. And looking at the moves that we had last week, the downside that we had last week, towards the end of last week, from Wednesday particularly, moves just seen so far today could simply be just pullbacks, you know, a little. So I don't want us to get carried away, right? Just looking at the risk on that we have so far. Although yields, yes, yields are up, especially US 10-year up as well. You have measure of volatility down, you have commodities generally up as well. So all of that points to a current risk on environment. Now, um, like I said, yes, good. Equities trade higher across board. Hearing on the losses from last week, the US 500 just barely escaped the bear market after being down briefly below 20% from the year, from the all-time highs, right? But has pulled back away from that 20% downside, and then we've seen continued, overall, pick up in sentiment. Although, please pay attention that, like I said, this is mostly, you know, I'll call this pullback, and I wouldn't want to get carried away by what we are seeing right now because generally these moves are still, the negatives are still very much evident. Okay, having said that, in FX we have another positive start. It reflects the positive start. You have antibodies leading the majors, AED, NZD at the top of the majors, pounds also doing well, right? While on the other hand, on the weaker side, you have the CHF, you have the US, you have the Japanese yen at the bottom of the majors. It is key to note that the underlying risks, that's global economic slowdown, high inflation, and central bank tightening, has kept market cautious over the last couple of weeks, remain dominant overall. So that means that you as well into this session have to also pay attention to that and be careful with the kinds of moves that you're taking. Now, another thing is most of this risk pairs, equity pair NZD versus CHF, NZD versus USD, AED, CHF, AED, USD, and the likes are heading into resistance levels right now. So clearly, it also still calls for patience, and I wouldn't be so much in a hurry to try and fly in and out of moves. But generally, on the day, it's a light calendar day. We have Governor Bailey on the wires. But apart from that, I don't think there is any major key events of notes during the European as well as American session. Right. Okay, maybe later on we'll have, I think, something from Australia. We'll look at that in a bit. But like I said, please pay attention to risk sentiment, pay attention to overall market flows, new information flow, the news feed, because despite the positive start, underlying weakness remains in the markets. Now, quickly looking across board, like I said, this is a perfect example of what I said. Now, what we have, yes, to start today's session, We started the day, more on the positive side after the gap to the upside, following from Friday's moves. And now, after heading into resistance around this key 39.5, that's Friday's highs, right? Also, key areas of support and resistance going back. Now we're pulling back from that high. So clearly, like I said, you don't want to get carried away in moves like this. And it's one of a perfect example of what we're saying. Now, what do we need to do going forward? Yes, positive start. If we get this reverse push higher, clear out this overall. Let's see if we can get this in. Let's quickly get one of this in. All right, let's look at it. All right, so if you can get this, for example, this level, let's just make this look a bit better. Just to make this look a little bit better. All right. Now, if you can make this look, just one more thing I wanted to do so that our chart looks good. All right, good. Now, if we can clear out this level to the upside, maybe we could resume back into the risk on environment. But you'll notice the kind of moves that we've had over the last couple of weeks. And every single time we had a rally, continued downside has been the case. Now, the negatives have not changed, and I don't think it's changing from now. So I'm not looking to buy risk assets right now. I'll rather wait for a deeper pullback and look for another opportunity to sell it back in line with the overall environment that we have. And it's the same story across risk assets generally. Started better, but now paring back most of those gains that we've seen so far in today's session. Oil prices are also started better as well today. Quickly, while this loads up. All right, while we wait for that to play out, crossing over to the FX space, I'll probably come back to this. Crossing over to the currency space. Now we could talk about AUD leading the majors, NZD leading the majors, but looking at pairing this current strength versus weakness, and then you see something. Looking at AUD JPY, for example, AUD JPY is currently trading. If it's slow this morning, I'm not sure why, but let's keep going. All right. All right. AUD JPY also, yes, we talked about pushing higher in today's session, but you can see where we're finding resistance as well, right? The highs of this is 10th of May, similar story as well as the 17th of May, also the 18th of May, and now we're finding resistance around that level as well. So clearly, I mean, these resistance levels are things to pay attention to. Yeah, we could talk about a pullback towards this key round number. This is 90.5. You can see previous highs going back to Friday as well as Thursday, and even going back, a couple of sessions back. Yes, we could talk about that, but conviction wise, I mean, I'm not there yet. And I think that's one of those days where you want to be more patient, before looking to jump into anything concrete, particularly. Apart from that, you look at AUD versus CHF as well. Another similar story there. Yes, we started on the positive side. Now we are pairing some of those gains. And then you look at where we are trading right now, also finding some form of resistance, right? At least if even nothing, just these highs, right? The highs of Wednesday or Thursday last week as well, also finding resistance around that level. So it's been a little bit more one of those cautious environments that you're having. And as a trader, you don't want to just jump in on any form of trade idea or trade opportunity based on strengths and weaknesses, right? It's all about convictions, all about high probability trades, right? So you clearly want to also put that at the back of your mind in terms of today's session. AUD USD, yes, still interesting in terms of the moves that we have, not at resistance just yet. There might still be room. We could look at maybe a pullback towards this yesterday's highs, as Friday's highs rather. Although going back a bit, so just look at this. Going back a bit, right? We are really struggling around this key round number. This is 0.71000, right? Key area around here. Yes, it's maybe messy, but I mean, you've seen over time it's really held its ground. And then until we clear that level, I'm really not looking to jump into anything just right now. You look at another one. Let's look at NCD, for example, because it's also the same story there. Yes, we're talking about the risk on starts. Yes, but on the balance, I think is more, pullback rather than anything concrete. Now, NZD USD clearly has broken through this key round number around 0.645. Right? And then, yes, we are trading higher above that level, which is interesting. We had a test of it earlier in the day, pulling up. Yes, current environment helpful. Pull back again, maybe another one. But in terms of convictions, not there yet. You look at NZD versus CHF, and this other one too as well, finding resistance, even at R2 right now. R2 is also the lows going back to, lows going back to 17th of May as well as the 16th of May into resistance again and then pulling off it. Now, if I wanted to go back into this, let's say we have equities continue to push higher and I want to buy exit against the CHF, maybe I could look out for this key round number around this 0.625, right? The highs of Thursday last week, that's 19th of May, previous support levels, going back a couple of sessions, maybe you could get that and then look for further pushes to the upside. But like I said, conviction wise, we're not there just yet. You look at exit JPO as well. Finally, another story there, right? Also finding some form of resistance around this key round number around 82.5. So yes, a gentle risk on start of the day. Most of those moves are pulling back. The catalyst for the risk on, yes, it's there, but not overly, covering up for the overall negative we've had over the last couple of sessions. NZD AUD leading the majors, while you have the the CHF, the US, even the JP were lagging amongst the majors. Equities are up, commodities are up, bond yields are up. But like I said, overall negative flows still remain dominant in markets, and as such, you want to be careful because even on the charts, pairing strength versus weakness would also see, most of these risk assets. I see most of these risk assets also pulling off resistance areas as well. So looking at the calendar is another light one. I mean, basically nothing, barely anything on the calendar as well. Governor Bailey on the wires, and then late into the night, you have retail sales for Australia. But apart from that, basically nothing on the wires. It's just the Monday markets are getting started. It's tilting towards a more mixed environment. So as such as a trader, you also want to play it slow, take it easy. All right, so that's it for now. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I would always do our best to help. Thank you. Do enjoy the rest of your trading session. Bye for now.